Welcome back. Now, an expectant nation awaits the president. He will have to once again prove himself to the country. But the governing party is fighting within its ranks and corruption continues to plague the country. There are many expectations for this evening's State of the Nation address. The president is expected to speak this evening at 7 o'clock. For now, I'm joined by CEO of Small Business Institute, Dludlu. Mr. Dludlu, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. Now, of course, it's been a very difficult 2 years for business and the country, but also business in particular because of COVID-19. What are you hoping the president has planned for small business this evening?
Thanks, Maseko. I think generally for the economy, it's been a very difficult time for the last 24 months or so. What we're hoping for is some critical announcements around first the energy crisis, and obviously from a social relief point of view, the fate of the so-called COVID grant of 350 rands, whether it is continued beyond March, as it was slated to be up until the end of March, which is the end of the financial year for the country. And then since the last time the president spoke, there has been a deterioration of the environment in our country. Two things have happened. The state of law and order has become quite worrying. We saw the mayhem of July last year, and we've been seeing the attacks on national key points, whether it's Parliament burning down, the attack on the Cape Town City Hall, and the attack on the St. George's Cathedral Church, and the attack on the Constitutional Court. These are worrying signs about the deterioration of the law and order environment. And then from a general point of view of business, we're expecting an announcement around the structural economic reforms that were long agreed, such as the restructuring of the state-owned enterprises, one, to allow a bit of competition into the network industries, and obviously to open up the spectrum allocation process, which is stuck in litigation right now. And we obviously expect something around progress which is being made to bring into the grid the new IPPs, or the independent power producers. From a small business point of view, strictly speaking, business or the private sector has done quite a bit without doing it in concert with the other social partners, whether it's labor, civil society, and government. We would expect that government sort of moves to improve the ease of doing business in the country, especially red tape, how hard it is to start and run a business successfully in South Africa.
All right.
And then lastly, there is one thing the president can do which does not require any one of us as social partner, which is pay SMEs on time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we see a lot of people who, for instance, feel as though government is not paying them within the 30 days that is promised. They end up actually going under, their families are not fed, etc. But I just want to talk to you about the visuals that the team has been showing the viewers at the moment. So KFC, a certain KFC branch actually has advertised a single post at that particular branch. And, the queue is quite long, and it speaks to how bad or how desperate people are to get jobs, right? But also many of the people who are there, who have placards that are held up, are saying that South Africans must be employed into that position. A South African must be employed, rather. One of the placards saying all businesses must have 95% South African employment and 5% foreign. What's your take as business with regards to this debate?
I think this debate has to be treated quite carefully. We know we have a serious skills shortage in our country. So hopefully at the first part of the problem, we finalize the list of scarce skills that can be sourced from outside the country. This has been in the making for about a few years now. So speed would be appreciated in that respect. But we also need to be attending to the issue of unemployment. This has become a serious crisis. At 70% the unemployed youths, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. The good thing about this is that it appears that the president is not lost to the agency of the matter. So we really need to address this as soon as possible. All the frustration we see in the so-called xenophobic attacks are a result of frustration with the economic deterioration in our country. So we all need to be putting our hands on deck to see how we stimulate employment and economic growth, because only through economic growth can we hope to have both inclusive growth as well as employment.
So are you hoping then that the president at least gives you a clear answer to what he thinks? Because a lot of people we've been speaking to on this channel feel as though the president should tonight at least talk about where he stands with that particular issue when it comes to the ratio of South Africans versus foreign nationals being employed in the country.
Well, steps have already been taken. Maybe from a government point of view, there has been very bad and lack of communication around this issue. So last year or a year ago, there was a strategy agreed around around industrialization through localization. From an SME point of view, specifically, a certain number of products were identified as those products that will be sourced internally in South Africa, in other words, replace imports. The second element of that, of course, is how many people are available in South Africa with the requisite skills to be taking up those jobs. I think it would send a very good signal to the market if there was certainty around issues like this. How many skills, which sort of skills can be sourced from outside our borders? And then, obviously, the rest is for the South African community and everyone who is in the country, by the way, legally.
Are you hoping the president speaks decisively on accountability when it comes to corruption? Because this obviously does affect business quite heavily, because it means that those foreign investors who wanted to come into the country are then hindered from doing that. But also at the same time, the debate around the fact that when it comes to politicians that are accused of corruption, it's usually a business that was an enabler.
Yeah, this is not only a government problem, it's a South African problem, and it takes two to tango. It takes a corruptor and a corruptee for corruption to happen. So we don't regard this as only a South African government problem. It is a South African epidemic that we all have to address. We now have some beginnings and makings of what a solution could look like. Yes, there are long-term steps that have to be taken, such as reforming the procurement system in government, such as setting up the anti-corruption council, advisory council, but also there are immediate steps that each business that business and all the social partners can address without waiting for those long-term steps to be taken. So, for example, the law enforcement agencies now have 2 reports from the SONA Commission of Inquiry. It is upon them now to act on them.
All right.
They don't have to wait for the process to be litigated, appealed.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. I have to cut it short because Bradan is waiting to give more news. That was CEO of Small Business Institute, Dludlu.